following show is controversial and contains content you may find offensive. Listener discretion is advised.
98FM's Dublin Talks. Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy.
It's Tuesday morning. Good morning. How are you today? I hope everything is good with you. I'm Adrian Kennedy, and between now and midday today, this is 98FM's Dublin Talks, the mid-morning talk and phone-in show for Dublin, by Dublin, and about Dublin. So what have we got coming up on our programme today? Well, in just a moment, trouble in West Tallaght, as you heard Georgie on the news. This is awful. Sadly, not the first time. But it's now gone to a new level where supermarket delivery drivers have pulled out of the area of West Tallaght following a spate of attacks. Isn't it absolutely ridiculous that an elderly woman can't order her shopping to be delivered to her front door, as the lovely ad for Tesco portrays? You know, the ad where they're sitting in their, the elderly couple are sitting in their armchair, and the young fella comes in with the delivery for the couple, and they're watching season 7 of some programme. Well, if you live in West Tallaght and you happen to be that elderly couple, because of little scumbags in your area, you can't get a bloody delivery. Unbelievable. And we're going to talk about what the community of West Tallaght needs to do in order to root out this crap and enable people to have their Tesco delivery delivered. Everywhere else in the country can have it. West Tallaght should be able to, but I don't blame the drivers for 1 second not wanting to drive there if they're going to be shot with pellet guns, have their keys stolen from them as they sit in their van and told to hand over money. Unbelievable. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. If you're from the area, I would love to hear from you on 6797981. You can also text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Also going to be touching on something a little bit later on. We hear from a woman who is struggling to deal with the fact that her grandmother is going through the later stages of Alzheimer's and literally doesn't recognise her anymore. And she's finding it extremely upsetting. And I know it's something that a lot of people find very, very difficult to cope with. We're going to be talking about that a little bit later on. And from Marge Simpson to He-Man, people will be revealing on this programme later on the non-humans that they used to, or maybe still do, have a crush on. And no sooner as I mentioned it with Cooper a couple of minutes ago, and we got this WhatsApp voice message.
It'll be interesting to see how many lads actually admit to having a crush on Jessica Rabbit.
It will be, won't it? Jessica Rabbit, of course, was the cartoon character in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And yeah, she was sexy, now it has to be said. We're going to be asking basically what non-humans you've ever had a crush on. See, we'll talk about the maddest stuff on this programme. All that and much more between now and midday today. And live from Dublin City Centre, this is 98FM's Dublin Talks. I'm Adrian Kennedy. Now, earlier on today, and you will have heard this in our news bulletin just moments ago, Tesco has announced that it has suspended shopping deliveries to the West Tallaght area after reports that their drivers have been attacked, robbed, and even shot at with a pellet gun. Tesco says that there have been several incidents of antisocial behaviour in the West Tallaght area, and they have taken this step to protect their staff and customers. Here's what the Tesco statement said. At present, following several incidents, we are curtailing deliveries in a small number of areas in West Tallaght with an alternative collection option open to customers at Clondalkin and Naas. While we appreciate the inconvenience caused, the safety of our colleagues and customers is of paramount importance. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this a moment ago. I don't know if you're aware of the ad that's on television at the moment. It's a great ad by Tesco, showing that, for example, over 65s can get free deliveries to their home, and the young fella walks in with the shopping from Tesco delivery guy, and the mature couple are sitting there watching season 7 of some television program, and the young fella's like, oh wow, brilliant. And it shows the brilliant service that Tesco provide in delivering shopping to people's houses. However, because of the behaviour of a few anti-social scumbags in West Tallaght, that ad sadly won't apply to an elderly couple living in West Tallaght because you can't get your shopping delivered now. And if you live in the area, I want to hear from you on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. I want to find out, has antisocial behaviour affected your day-to-day life? Are you sick of a small number of people giving the area a bad reputation? Or maybe you don't know what the hullabaloo is all about. Maybe you do live in the area and don't think it's as bad as it's being portrayed. When you hear of a company like Tesco who pride themselves on their delivery service, how accurate it is and the convenience of it for everybody, but particularly, for elderly people who may not drive, wow, you can get your shopping delivered to your front door. It's a great service. They've had to pull it because of antisocial behaviour. I'm joined on the line by local Fianna Fáil councillor Charlie O'Connor, who's been speaking out about this. Charlie, welcome to 98 FM.
Good morning, Adrian, and thank you very much for talking to me.
Charlie, this is dreadful to have to announce that Tesco are pulling out of deliveries in the area. What do we know about the attacks on their drivers?
Well, first of all, can I just say your preamble, Adrian, has absolutely explained the situation so well. And you are dead right. Elderly people saying, well, we've been picked on in this regard. And unfortunately, there have been a number of alleged attacks. And there has been a particular one, as you know, which has been reported widely, including in the Tallaght Echo, about the alleged ball bearing missing.
And this is where one of the drivers was allegedly shot at with a ball bearing.
Correct.
That lodged in his face.
Which is absolutely appalling. And can I say, and I think you've said it a different way, like we have to support the drivers of Tesco. Absolutely. I've no problem with saying that whatsoever. But the fact is that a vital, excellent service to the community in parts of Tallaght West is being withdrawn because of the behaviour of a small number of people. And you probably know, because you've alluded to it yourself, over the last couple of days there has been a lot of attention on the area and people may be taking unfair advantage and saying unfortunate things. Tallaght West and Tallaght generally is a great place. I live here myself, and it's a safe place, but unfortunately it is about a very small number of people causing this, and not only creating a bad image for Tallaght, but also creating a situation where Tesco have taken the decision to withdraw an excellent service from a vulnerable community. And we have to, all of us, speak out against that. And I hope all the calls you get this morning, based on this feature, condemns that behaviour and talks up for Tallaght.
And I've absolutely no doubt, Charlie, that people will condemn the behaviour, because you certainly couldn't condone this sort of behaviour that sees a delivery driver shot with a bloody pellet gun. But I have to see it from Tesco's point of view.
Sure.
I would, if they were my staff, I wouldn't send them into an area where where they could be shot with a pellet gun. I just wouldn't do it. So, unfortunately, it is the people of the area that are going to suffer with, where everywhere else in the country can get a Tesco delivery of their shopping. This particular area of West Tallaght can't.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to be supportive of the staff of Tesco. Of course I do. I've spoken to a number of drivers over the weekend. I went out of my way to talk to them. They explained to me their fears. They explained to me what's going on. And as far as I'm concerned, there has to be top level discussions now between Tesco management and the Gardaí. And I had the opportunity this morning. The superintendent in Tallaght, Ian Lackey, was kind enough to take a call from me. We spoke about it. He gave me assurances about what actions the Gardaí are attempting to take. I don't want to go into operational matters, but it is important that this, as you say, well publicised, excellent service is restored as quickly as possible, because a small number of people should not be allowed to stop a good service going to people who need it. And that's what people are saying to me.
Obviously, we don't want to name names, but people know who's doing this. People know who is responsible for Tesco being forced into pulling their delivery service from West Tallaght. So what can be done to root these tow rags out?
Well, I would appeal to the community, to cooperate with the local authorities, to talk to the Gardaí on a confidential basis and tell them what they know. Because you're saying it, Adrian, so well that this is a small number of people, ill-judged people, who are creating a situation where a service, an excellent service, is being withdrawn from the community, from a vulnerable community, elderly people who depend on this service. And by the way, it's not only Tesco providing this kind of service in Tallaght, other supermarkets are doing the same. And it's an excellent service. People are taking advantage of it, and they're right to do that. And we must speak out against those who are stopping the service going.
Okay, now, sadly, over the last couple of years, Charlie, we've reported on this programme about, and I'm talking specifically about West Tallaght, about buses being restricted at various occasions because of antisocial behaviour, about fast food deliveries being restricted because of antisocial behaviour, and now we hear of supermarket deliveries being restricted because of antisocial behaviour. So this isn't a new problem. This is an ongoing problem. What is the community doing about it?
Well, it comes and goes as far as the incident is concerned. And can I just say, because you've mentioned the bus service, I and other public representatives locally, including Brian Leach and Sean Crowe, just to name a couple of us, are regular members of a so-called Dublin Bus Lewis Community Forum, which meets every month in either Jobstown and Kilnarden and deals with incidents. We meet with the Gardaí, we meet with Dublin Bus and Lewis Management, we meet with community representatives in an attempt to create a situation where we are protecting our bus service.
My point is, Charlie, that over the last year and a half, we've had, as I said, buses being restricted on occasion. We've had takeaway delivery drivers feeling vulnerable and unsafe delivering, and now we have supermarket deliveries. This doesn't happen everywhere.
Well, except, I don't want to challenge that, Adrian, but
it doesn't, Charlie. It doesn't happen everywhere.
But it happens in other areas. It's not only about Tallaght. I'm sorry for saying that. You and I have heard reports, certainly in relation to bus services being withdrawn in other parts of our city. And every time...
But my point is, Charlie, what is going on specifically in West Tallaght that all of these services are being affected because of antisocial behaviour?
Well, of course, Adrian, if I had the answer to that question, we could move on. The fact is, and you've used words that I don't want to repeat, but there are a small number of people doing this, and they think it's great. And it's a disgrace. And there is a responsibility on the community, especially the parents and the relations of these people who are causing these problems, to speak out and to cooperate with the Gardaí. Nobody is...
But that is part of the problem, isn't it? That people aren't cooperating with the Gardaí.
That's right. And clearly, and as I said, I want to support the work of the Gardaí in this regard. The Gardaí are anxious to deal with these problems. I know for a fact, because I've spoken to the superintendent this morning, that they are certainly investigating in a serious way, the incident with regard to the alleged ball bearing or whatever it was, and that was disgraceful. I've seen pictures of that unfortunate man, and that wound was very close to his eye.
Absolutely,
can't condone that. It's outrageous. And I've no problem absolutely in supporting the Tesco workers. I've said that to them personally. I'll be conveying it again to the management this morning. But my message is that we have to create a situation taking whatever action is necessary to restore this important service back to my community.
What will it take for Tesco drivers to start delivering in the area again?
Well, I'm trying to make contact with senior Tesco management this morning, and I know the Gardaí have arranged to meet them. It's important that we all work together in the community, cooperating with the Gardaí to create an environment where these drivers feel safe, and they have to be safe. And it's important. Absolutely. My bottom line on this is that action has to be taken to ensure the restoration as quickly as possible of this important service. That's what the community is saying to me. They don't want the Tesco drivers at risk, but they certainly want the service. And it's important, that, Adrian, that we say that. And I hope people are listening to your programme this morning and listening certainly to what you said. And it's important that this service be restored.
Okay, let me ask you finally, Charlie, are there any plans for a public meeting or something to pull the community together to get this problem dealt with for once and for all?
Sure, well, I think that's something that will develop maybe over the next couple of days, but I think it's important that we focus on the problem and focus on the need for action. And yes, we have to get a message across to the community, to the small number of people who are causing this, and also to assure the general community that it's not about them all and that we want the service, particularly to vulnerable people who need this service, who depend on this service. They have to know that we are all assuring them that this service has to be restored. And I would hope, Adrian, and I appreciate, giving time this morning, because it's important that you try to get that message out. And let's also not forget the other point you made. The image of Tallaght has to be restored. If people are banging away at us, and I know I challenge you that it's happening in other areas, but I'm focusing on Tallaght. And this feature is focusing on Tallaght, and Tallaght doesn't deserve this reputation.
Yes, it doesn't, but sadly it does have it, and that's part of the problem. All right.
What we're doing this morning, Adrian, is speaking out on that, and I hope people listen, and I hope that people who know who these, people who are breaking the law, who they are, that they will deal with them, because it's important that this service be restored.
Councillor Charlie O'Connor, thank you very much indeed for talking to us on 98FM.
Thanks, Adrian. It's been a pleasure, and thank you.
All right, now here's part of the problem, and somebody just summed it up perfectly in a message to us. People are terrified. We were talking about the fact that the people aren't cooperating with the guards. Somebody knows who shot that pellet gun at that driver the other day. Somebody knows. And here's what the message says, and it says, people are terrified of being identified as a rat. Here's the thing. Scumbags push that fear because they are cowards who are terrified of facing the consequences of their actions. There needs to be all-out war on this sort of carry-on to change the negative perception in so many minds of reporting scumbags. In other words, we need to get our heads around that this just isn't right. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Lads, you need to stop blaming the people in the community of West Tallaght. There's absolutely nothing they can do about it. What do? They go to the guard and say, oh, little John Doe done that to the Tesco delivery driver. The guard says, have you got proof of that, have you? Will you stand up in court and testify? So you stand up in court and testify, little John Doe walks out with a slap on the wrist, suspended sentence, and then makes your life a misery in the area because you ratted him out in court. This is down to the judiciary, the guards and the government. No proper sentencing for these little scumbags who commit these crimes.
I agree with you on the no proper sentencing, but I firmly believe that the community, the only way to root out this problem is for the community of West Tallaght to pull together and root the bloody problem out. It is outrageous in 2019 Ireland, and I want you to imagine this situation. We've all seen this ad on the television. In fact, I'll play a little bit of the ad that I'm talking about. We've all seen this ad. Tesco have been pushing this ad over the last while. Here's a bit of audio from that ad.
At Tesco, if you can't come to us, we'll come to you.
Oh yeah.
Hi. Michael,
everyone's always naked.
And if you're over 65, we'll even deliver for free.
I thought they were brother and sister. Or maybe they're not.
Season 5, is it?
7.
Fair play to you. See you next week.
Bye, Michael.
See you, Michael.
Shop online or just call us. Tesco. Every little helps.
Okay, the advert is about over 65s can get deliveries free of charge from Tesco. But not if you live in West Tallaght. That's the problem, because Tesco today forced into announcing that they are curtailing deliveries in a small number of areas of West Tallaght, with an alternative collection open to customers at Clondalkin and Nace. Hardly convenient for an elderly person who doesn't drive. So because of little tow rags in West Tallaght, that couple that you see in that ad that we watch every day of the week can't get a delivery. They've done nothing wrong, but they can't get a delivery in West Tallaght because of little tow rags. And back to that voice message, people know who did it, and I'm sorry, we need to change that mindset of ratting people out. We have to. Brian, you're on 98FM. How are you, Brian?
How are you? You okay? Well,
Brian, your point on this is you're from the area, and you're saying that the Gardaí need to do more. What more can they do? They can't be on every street corner.
That's true, yeah, absolutely. And it was a bit of tongue-in-cheek saying it, but I mean, like, the only way Tesco will go back into that area is if they have armed patrol with them, armed guards going in. That's not going to happen. The other point is, Adrian, which is scary to think, is that, like, I agree with the council saying there, it's happening in a lot of areas where buses are being pulled. It's evening time. It's happened. Delivery drivers are being pulled in the evening time. But now this is happening during the day.
Broad daylight, yeah.
Are these kids not supposed to be in school or somewhere? Or are these people so old enough that are 18 or 19 or 20 that should have more cop onto themselves that are doing this? Like, law and order has gone out the window in this country. Absolutely gone out the window. And there's no one being held accountable. If anybody should be held accountable, it should be their parents of them kids. Absolutely should be dragged out, they should be, and brought up before the courts. And I mean, if I was saying it, I'd be the first on the phone to the guards to rat them out, and I'd tell them who they are. If I knew who they were, you know what I mean?
And you see, here's the thing. I mean, you're saying that, Brian, but people don't. That's the point I was making, that people are afraid to rat.
Yeah, there's a confidential guard line there that's in use, that people can use, and you're kept away from, your name's not brought out or anything. Do you know what I mean? You're not brought to testify in court or anything against them. But these little scumbags need to be ratted out. And I tell you what's going to end up happening is, it's going to be people who have elderly, grandmothers or elderly parents in their area, and it's going to turn into vigilantes, and we're going to go around and they're going to kill these lads, like battering them, like, because of what they're doing. It happened I think something that happened in Cabra years back when all these little scumbags were rounded up by a lot of vigilantes and were ran out of the place, like, you know what I mean?
And it is sad that we have to even have that conversation, but it appears to me that is one of the solutions.
Yeah, it's not going to get any better. It's like, it is terrible to think that we can't have something as simple as a delivery of a takeaway or a delivery of a Tesco order delivered up to your house without these poor lads being attacked and robbed or whatever else. Like, do you know what I mean? I mean, it's these boys. That fella that was shot in the face with that thing, he's going to be out of work for a few months now, and he's going to have all sorts of depression, not sleeping at night, worrying, all this kind of stuff. It's terrible, like, and he might not even testify against these lads because he's like that terrified, probably,
All right, I'd like to hear from you if you're from the West Tallaght area. Our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. You can also send us a WhatsApp voice message to that same number, 0877 98 98 98. Tesco announcing today that they are curtailing deliveries in a small number of areas of West Tallaght because of antisocial behaviour. While we appreciate the inconvenience caused, the safety of our colleagues and customers is of paramount importance. Quick break, we're back in a second.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie. 98FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday. We're in the middle of a conversation about West Tallaght and the fact that, well, firstly, we had buses being pulled at various times due to antisocial behaviour in West Tallaght. Then we had last year delivery drivers, takeaway drivers being pulled out because of attacks on them. And now we have home deliveries from a supermarket being curtailed because of antisocial behaviour. And if this keeps going on, you won't be able to get a bus, you won't be able to get a bag of chips, and you won't be able to get your shopping delivered. Because all three have happened in the last year. And if this antisocial behaviour continues in West Tallaght, they'll all pull out. All because of the behaviour of a few scroats. Trevor, you're on 98FM. How are you, Trevor?
How are we keeping?
Good, thank you, Trevor. What did you want to say?
Not too bad. I think this is purely down to a community issue. Never mind the guards, never mind. Like, if I knew my grandmother or my grandfather wasn't able to get their food delivery, I'd be the one taking action. It's up to the community. I'm sure there's 3 or 4 hard men in that estate that would be able to put these young lads in their place if they got out of line. You know what I mean?
But they haven't up to now.
If Tesco's had the backing of the community, I'm sure they'd reconsider it. But
that's probably what they're going to need before they are prepared to. I wouldn't send my staff in risking them getting shot with a pellet gun.
Not a chance. But as I say, if they knew they had the backing of the community, I think that's the problem. they see the community as dangerous, although it's not the whole community.
No, and obviously it isn't.
Yeah.
And anybody who says it is completely wrong. However, as I said, people know who's doing this.
Yeah, but as I say, I'm sure there's 3 or 4 lads in that estate who them young fellas are terrified of. And if they got the backing of those 3 or 4 young lads, or the 3 or 4 lads to keep an eye on these young lads, I'm sure Tesco would feel a hell of a lot more safe kind of going, well, at least we know we can go in there. There's 4 or 5 people there on I won't say a vigilante group, but more like a protection group there that'll stop anything happening to us going into the estate. This needs to be community based. If these guys met with Tesco's, like a liaison group, and said, look, we're here to make sure you get in and out of the estate safely without any hassle, Tesco would probably be more...
It's a sad state of affairs that they're going to need some sort of an armed escort to deliver an L1 shopping.
Exactly, without the police. You know what I mean? This, as I say, it's the community that need to face up to this and say, right, we need 5 or 6 people here who are going to ensure their safety every time they come into the estate. Who's willing to volunteer?
Yeah, I just don't see that happening. In fact, as somebody just texted in a second ago, I live in West Tallaght and there is no community.
There we go. If they're not willing to bunch together, they might as well forget about Tesco ever delivering there again. You know, they need to bunch together if they want the service to continue.
Stay there for a second. Eddie, you live nearby and you're saying that people are just afraid to speak out.
No, they're being smart not speaking out. That guy obviously doesn't live in an area like that. Say, for example, 4 public fellas come out. They're out in public now. These little toe rags know who they are. If they're shooting bloody ball bearings in the middle of the day, they'll know where you live within seconds. And at night time, your life would be hell.
Well, in fact, you've just touched on something here, because let me read this message and then the reply that they followed up, right? And it says, I am a West Tallaght resident. There is a number of young kids, young teens who are causing havoc in our communities. People, including me, are afraid to speak out or to tackle these scum because the same are afraid of nobody, including the Gardaí. We need to bring back institutions similar to the industrial schools and lock them up for a long time. And then we asked to this person, are you free to come on air for a chat? Sorry, I'm too afraid to go on and talk about it. This is the kind of fear that this group of scumbags cause in people. And that's the point you're trying to make.
But you keep yourself to yourself. If it's, like, as much as you want you're shopping in your area, if it's a problem, you just think, you know what, I hope the guards sort it out. Maybe they'll go in as an undercover guard that drives the Tesco van and hope something happens and catch them that way. But you can't, anonymously, like that first caller said, anonymously, you can give a tip, but they might say, have you got evidence? You know what I mean? And because anyone just ring up and say anything, but you can't give your name. If you get out, your life is hell. And that guy, as much as he means well, saying, 4 or 5 people come out publicly, who's going to give up the time to do that, to put their home and their family under pressure? It's just not feasible. You know what I mean?
And in fact, here's another message on a similar vein, who won't come on air either for fear of being identified. And it says, this is the message that said, there is no community, just lawless scroats hanging around, just as we did when I was young. The only difference is we had the fear of actually getting into trouble if caught. There's no accountability, no vigilantes, no community, nobody in West Tallaght cares.
Adrian, you don't get vigilantes anymore because of this. Do you remember a couple of months ago when that house eviction and the fellow wore a balaclava?
Yes.
And within a day, one of the guards had a balaclava on.
That's right,
within a day, there was pictures all over Facebook of his lips and he was identified in his house and all. It's just not worth it. Nobody will put their family in danger to protect somebody getting a bit of shopping. It's just the way it is. I mean, I'll ask you a question, right? Would you come out publicly if it was happening in your place?
Isn't this part of the problem? So
but I'm asking you personally.
No, I understand the difficulty.
Would you come out publicly?
I do understand the difficulty of standing up to these. I do, and I know.
I'm just asking you, yes or no. Would you come out publicly?
I'd like to think I would,
but you got 100 million times you wouldn't.
I'm fortunate that I don't. I'm fortunate that I don't live in that situation. But I do think that it's only by the community pulling together that it will ever be sorted out.
If the community pull together, that means they have to come out as publicly, because they're not allowed to wear like a balaclava and go around. You want them to come out publicly. They can't do that publicly. because they're putting themselves in the firing line of these little scroats, and these little scroats don't care about anything. If they're shooting pellet guns or whatever in the middle of the day, you're sitting in your home 11, 12 o'clock at night, and all of a sudden one comes in your window, and you're putting your family in the firing line. Nobody's going to do that.
All right, stay there. So we just leave it the lawless West?
No, we don't. We just hope the guards catch them and organise something, but the public, it's not their job, and they're not going to do it.
But I said, Eddie, already, the guards cannot be on every street corner in West Tallaght.
I understand that, Adrian, but that's just the world we live in. We hope that they get caught sooner or later, but the public in that area, they're not going to get involved, trust me.
All right. By the way, you can add, we were talking about the fact that Tesco are not delivering. We've had buses pulled out. We've had takeaway drivers pulled out. Taxi drivers have also been attacked in West Tallaght. I forgot about that. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Hey, Adrian. Just another case in another area in Dublin 15. There were 4 young children attacking younger ones, taking seize their phones, being caught on cameras. One of the parents went to the police station or the guard station, and nothing has been done. So no surprise that such things are happening. And if it's nothing done, it's only going to get worse and worse. That's from Marius.
And it is getting worse and worse. Pauline, you're on 98 FM. Hiya, Pauline. Hello, Pauline.
How are you, Adrian? How are you?
Good, Pauline. What did you want to say?
Yes. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. That's a well-known saying. Antisocial parents breed antisocial children. I mean, it's no use going to these parents because they're exactly the same as the little brats they've brought up. The problem is the system, this court system. There's no deterrent for these underage.
Well, in fact, a message that I read a while ago, a fellow who describes himself as a young scroat when he was younger, he said he at least had a fear of being caught. The young crowd now have no fear of being caught.
No, they have no fear of the law or authority. And they're told by their parents that they can't be touched. Because the parents are just as bad. And the point is, the system needs to change. The whole system, detention centres need to be opened up for these little scumbag brats, these wasters on the street. I mean, terrorising people coming to do their job, their deliveries, to usually elderly people who can't get out. It's an absolute outrage. And I don't care about this government saying, oh, well, we can't, they're children, they're this, that and the other, the judicial system. This whole judicial system is a bloody joke anyway. With every aspect of the law, and especially where there's underage antisocial behaviour. Something has to happen.
So what is that something, though, Pauline? This is the age-old question.
Well, this crap that I hear constantly about, they come from deprived backgrounds, they come from, they're deprived, this, that and the other. They could have all the facilities in the world, and they'd still be going around doing this antisocial behaviour. Pumping money into these areas is an absolute waste of time of facilities and sports.
Yeah, in fact, I heard somebody only yesterday speaking about this. God love them, it's a deprived area and there's nothing for them to do and all of that sort of rubbish. Yeah, I agree. Absolute rubbish.
Crap. It's usually from the upper middle class who are not living in these areas and have nothing to do with these areas. They can afford to have these ridiculous attitudes. It's nothing to do with facilities. It's nothing to do with being deprived. A lot of people have been deprived in the past. You don't go around terrorising other people. Absolutely disgraceful. And this government needs to take this issue in hand. And I feel these children have too many rights anyway as it is.
All right, stay there for 1 second, Pauline. Let me read out this message, and it says, this is entirely the fault of the Gardaí. They get millions in funding, and they know who did this. They know the little brats who rode motorbikes around, the accident that happened in Darndale to the Polish chap. The guards know who did these things. Why don't you ring the guards and ask them why they don't do their job? Says that message. The guards aren't going to come on there and defend not doing their job. Here's the problem. Yes, the guards may well know who is doing these things. in Darndale or in Tallaght or whatever. They may well know exactly who did these things. But without evidence and without proof and without witnesses, their hands are tied. They can do nothing. So, it's, what does the guy do? Stand up in court and say, oh yeah, I know it's him. It's definitely him. Where's your proof? Oh, no, I just know it's him. So the guards' hands are completely tied. And in fact, here's somebody else having a go with the guards over this. The Gardaí in this country are a joke. Responding to the crime is over an hour or even not showing up at all. Must learn from other countries where response time is a maximum of 2 minutes to the location where the crime is reported. That's why these young scum are not afraid. They know no one is going to show up. That's where the whole issue is. Where am I going now? Let's go to Quiva. You're on 98FM. How are you, Quiva?
Good, Adrian. Good morning.
Your point, Quiva, is that the guards aren't allowed to do enough.
The guards their hands are tied. So they need to step down and let the people who are willing to step up.
And it appears that the people aren't willing to step up. As you heard Eddie say a while ago, they're afraid to.
Right. So that's what I mean. It has to be put out there that, look, without actually taking someone's life, but I'd bally up and I'd kick the living shite out of them that they wouldn't do it again.
Yeah, we can all say that, Quiva, and I'm sure there's enough hard men in West Tallaght that might think of doing it, but nobody is doing it, and I'm not condoning that either, because...
No, I'm not condoning it, it is sad, but I mean, are these little scumbags going to respond to anything else? No, they're not. So they're going to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. So until the community or people get together and say, no, do you know what? They can do it to us, we'll do it to them, and we'll put them back in their place and put the fear in them.
And that's the problem.
When it comes to the law, Adrian, nothing will be done. I mean, Jesus, it'd be great to become a guard, sit in an office and the odd time go out for a drive here or there, and that's what the guards do. And unfortunately, I think they might have a different view in their head as to what their job title is or whatever. But the reality of it is, they're pencil pushers and they can't do anything. So, they need to step back, step down, and let it take its course with the people who are willing and who have the capability of putting these little scroats in their place. I would break their legs over and over again till they got the message, you're not getting away with this.
Yeah, I know, and we can all say that, but it shouldn't have to be a case where we have to resort. But it is. Where we have to resort to vigilante activity.
I know. I understand that, Adrian, and it's nobody wants that to happen, but that's the only thing these little scumbags are going to respond to. It's the only thing that's going to put them back in their place. Because when they come up against someone that they can't bully and they can't get away with, it's the only thing that's going to happen. Other than that,
it should be.
They may just let them run wild.
It should be the police force that they're afraid of, but they're not.
But I mean, again, what can they do? Absolutely nothing. So they need to step down. And when they turn their blind eye to these little scumbags, they need to turn their blind eye to the punishment that should be coming their way to keep it under control.
All right, let me read a couple of your messages. People need to stop complaining about the guards. It's the judges who let these thugs away with it. Here's a WhatsApp voice message.
Hi, Adrian. Just a quick comment there about these hoodlums up in West Tallaght there. Like, the government won't do anything about this, yeah? What would happen if these lads lived on Leo Varadkar, Simon Harris, Paul Keogh, Simon Coveney's estate, terrorising those people? What would the government do then? Would they put more guards in place? Would they put more guards on every corner? What do you think?
All right, thank you very much indeed. And a few more messages. I do deliveries for a fast food shop and we deliver to the Darndale area. There are countless incidents we have to put up with. I am going to stop the job if we don't stop delivering to that area. It's nothing but bad news. And another message says, morning, Adrian. 30 odd years ago, the Gardaí could give these scroats a clout. Now the Gardaí can't touch them because they will claim assault and the courts let them back out on the streets. And one final message. Born and reared in West Tallaght. It was bad in the 90s, but it's like Beirut now. My parents had their windows put in numerous times for standing up to teenagers. Thankfully, they sold up and moved out 10 years ago. I wouldn't drive through it. It's a total kip. Problem is, kids rearing kids. They don't know how to teach them right from wrong, says that message. And finally, Adrian, a lad a few minutes ago said there was video footage and still nothing was done. How much evidence do you need? Plus, anyone who took vigilante action would be arrested within 24 hours, no doubt. So then you have the scammers and the law on your case. Joke shop, get the guards to do their job, some good old-fashioned police investigation work. Don't just rely on some poor gombeen to close the case for them and put themselves in the firing line. It's what we pay taxes for. Yeah, then the guards' hands are tied. And yes, they may have some CCTV, but maybe not enough. I'd hate to live there, I have to say. And I don't envy any of you who are living in the area having to put up with not being able to get a takeaway, not being able to get your shopping delivered, not being able to get, or finding it difficult to get a taxi to even drop you home. And then the buses might get called off again if they get bored during the summer and start bricking the buses out of it again. Anyway, thank you very much indeed for all of your calls. You're listening to 98FM's Dublin Talks. This is Adrian Kennedy. Now, after the break, from Jessica Rabbit to He-Man, I want to talk about the non-humans that you have a crush on.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie. 98FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. We've kind of a peculiar collection of people in this company. We end up having the most bizarre conversations in our office from time to time. And one conversation we ended up having yesterday was, what cartoon characters did you fancy?
Yeah.
Now, how that even came up, I don't know. How did that even come up?
Or just not even cartoon characters, but non-humans. Well, I was telling you, my wife, and she still does, fancied and fancies the Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
He's a big ugly looking yoke.
No, she thinks he's gorgeous looking.
Really?
Yeah. Which doesn't say a lot for me because she married me.
Yeah.
But if you look at a photograph of the Beast, does he have a name? I don't even know if he is. Is he just known as the Beast?
But I don't know. It's a good question. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yes, your man anyway that wears the little blue waistcoat, and that's one of her favourite movies is Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to have a poster on her wall up until the age of about 25, she says, of the Beast from Beauty and the Beast. Now, I've been looking at a photograph of him, and I can see why she married me. I can see the similarities. He's not a bad looking fella, though. No?
Let me have a look.
Hang on. There he is, look.
Oh. No, he's a bit...
She says he has lovely big shoulders and a big strong neck. She likes a strong neck and a man, you see. So that's
okay, anyway, as I said, we ended up having this conversation about cartoon characters or basically non-humans that you had a crush on. And Jeremy and I actually share one, which is very unusual.
Do you want to say that on the radio? We shared one.
We do share a...
Oh, we share. Okay.
We do.
Yeah,
and that, of course, is Daphne out of Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
Now, I fancy her because she used to wear purple boots.
Adrian has a penchant for purple boots.
Yeah.
If they had been any other colour, no, Daphne.
I just have a thing for purple boots. And Daphne.
Do you know what's funny, by the way?
What?
I have never seen a shop selling purple boots.
My missus has a pair.
Oh, she does.
She does. She just doesn't wear them anymore.
Where would you buy such a...
She has a pair of purple boots.
Of Daphne boots?
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, yes, myself and Adrian, we used to love Daphne from... No, she wasn't the spectacled one. She
was the other one, yeah.
Nobody fancied her.
No, I don't think so.
But myself and Adrian do have a soft spot for Daphne from...
So I want to know, or we want to know, what non-humans you ever had a crush on. Okay, so these are either cartoon characters or, as somebody texted us in a couple of minutes ago, it said Google Voice Assistant.
Oh yeah,
that's not a real human. Yeah.
No, I'd have a thing.
I told her my name is I love you, So now she keeps telling me that. And I've kind of fallen head over heels for her.
Here. Okay, let me speak to her. Hang on. Hello, Google Assistant.
Hello, Jeremy. How can I help you today?
Oh, jeez. I'm glad you asked, Google Assistant. I'm lonely.
I'm happy to be your friend.
Can we take this relationship further?
Oh, she's run a mile now.
She did what every woman does when I ask her that. Hang on. Google, can we go for a meal together? Oh.
No.
Google, I fancy you.
Sounds like you're having a bubble.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
She's nice, isn't she? What do you think? Did you see yourself over the...
She is very nice, all right, yeah.
Yeah. Google, here's a kiss.
Here's some information about the kiss.
Anyway, according to Darren, he's fallen head over heels in love with Google Assistant.
She's mine, Darren. Look, we've got a thing going together now. Do you hear that? The love in her voice.
Okay, we want to know, what non-human have you ever developed a crush on, like Google Assistant or Daphne from Scooby-Doo?
Oh, you used to have a sat-nav in your car, I remember, that I fancied. Remember you had an old car?
Oh, she had a lovely voice. Yeah.
She did. What car was it? It was an Avensis or something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Adrian had this sat-nav in his car before anybody else had a sat-nav. I think it was a Garmin, wasn't it?
It was.
And the woman that gave directions, well, my God. I used to just drive around the roundabout in his car just to hear her talking. Take the next exit. Take the next exit.
Bill, you're on 98FM. How are you, Bill?
Hey, doing, lads, how's things?
Well, Bill, what non-human did you ever have a crush on?
Oh, that's Jessica Rabbit.
Now, Jessica Rabbit, for those of a certain age, they may not know who Jessica Rabbit is. Back in the day, there was a movie called Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Bob Hoskins was in the movie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Great film.
A great film, and he was real life, obviously.
True,
but Jessica Rabbit was a cartoon character.
Kathleen Turner
did the voice of her, but she
ruined it for me now. That sound was her. Thanks. Jesus, that's my teenage years completely destroyed.
Ruined.
Oh, did you not realise that Kathleen Turner did the voice?
I kind of never really wanted to know who did the voice.
Yeah, sometimes you're better off not knowing.
Yeah, it's very true.
I mean, like, I know fancy Google lady, but she could be an 80-year-old woman sitting in a room smoking a cigarette with whiskers.
Could be Doc Cotton.
That's exactly us.
Anyway, so Jessica Rabbit as a cartoon character in that movie was very sexy. Now, it has to be said.
Pitstop as well.
Oh, Penelope Pitstop.
Do you remember her?
She wore pink boots as well, Adrian.
She did.
She had the boots. She had the FMB boots, yep.
Yes, she did.
She did.
All right,
and one last one, lads, about if you don't mind. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she was the posh, snobby one in Thunderbirds. Lady Penelope, was it?
Lady Penelope, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, her as well, yeah. And she was a puppet, so she'd be a bit more slightly realistic than a cartoon character, if you know what I mean.
I would suggest, and I don't have a helpline number to hand for you, but I would suggest there's a number you should probably ring for this issue that you have.
Oh, I don't fancy any humans at all. Good luck, Bill.
Have a good one.
Penelope Pitstop was the woman that they used to tie to the train tracks.
That's right, yeah.
And the train would be coming and she'd go, help, help! And she would
Bill would arrive
and help her.
We want to know what non-humans you ever had a crush on. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. You can also send a WhatsApp voice message to that same number 0877 98 98 98. Live and exclusive to Dublin's 98FM, Monday through Friday between 10 and midday. This is Adrian Kennedy. You're with 98FM's Dublin Talks. And Trish is here with Tuesday's top headlines.
Thanks, Adrian. Tesco customers in West Tallaght haven't been able to get their shopping delivered. The supermarket chain has suspended its home delivery service in the area after a number of drivers were attacked. The company says it made the move to protect staff and customers. Firefighters in Paris say the blaze, which has destroyed parts of Notre Dame Cathedral, have been put out. Its spire and much of the ancient roof collapsed last night, but the main structure, including the two bell towers, has been saved. The FAI board has been accused of leaving Irish football in limbo. John Delaney has stepped aside as executive vice president while a review's carried out, but it's not clear what steps the association plans to take to address concerns over its governance and financial affairs. And Ireland will be hotter than Ibiza this Friday. Temperatures are expected to hit as high as 20 degrees with dry and sunny weather on the way, but the good spell won't last, with another change expected on Sunday. And now we're up to date on 98.
That's typical, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah,
so it's going to be warmer than Ibiza for 20 minutes.
Something like that.
Come here, Trish. I know when you go back into the newsroom, you talk in there about... they're mad in that show. They talk about the maddest stuff.
We do say that.
Oh, yeah, I knew that. Is there a non-human you ever fancied when you were younger?
A non-human?
Like a cartoon character, or... we were like I had this thing for Daphne out of Scooby-Doo. She was just massive.
No.
Not Fred.
No.
Not Fred from Scooby-Doo,
No, I tend to fancy real life people.
Get out of here. You're not wanted in here. Thank you, Trish. So what is... like I said, we talk about the maddest stuff. Here's a WhatsApp voice message.
Hey lads, there was something about April O'Neil from the Turtles. She just done it for me. Nice.
And another one.
Lads, check out Emma Frost from the Marvel Comics, from X-Men. Jesus, something else. I hope my missus doesn't hear this or I'll get the sack. Fancying a cartoon character. Jesus Christ. Look, lads, back to work.
A message from Spain says the following. Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid. As a child, I was head over heels for him. He was my dreamy when I was younger.
Let me look him up. Prince Eric. Oh, yeah. I can see where you'd be going with that. They obviously base these cartoons on real people, don't they?
Well, obviously. They have to be shaped kind of looking like humans.
Yeah.
Alana is in Spain as well, actually, as it happens. Alana, welcome to 98 FM.
Hello, how are you?
Alana, who is it that you fancied?
Aladdin.
Oh, you actually fancied Aladdin?
Yeah, mad about him.
Then hang on, I have to have a look at Aladdin now. Hang on. Sorry, I'm being told by our Rachel that he was the best.
Really?
Look at his look at his manly chin and his lovely
chiseled chest.
His chiseled chest and his lovely white teeth.
Jesus, Adrian, you look like the genie from Aladdin, actually.
And according to Rachel, he was so humble. He was just an all-round,
lovely,
just an all-round good egg. You would, Jeremy. Look, have a look at him. Look.
No, I mean, he's a good looking. Look at the, oh God, I'd kill for the hair like that.
Yeah,
long black lock of hair on him.
So Aladdin did it for you, Alana.
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't get even stayed with me. I still like the Dark Man.
Yeah, but can I just say to you...
Aladdin.
Oh, because of Aladdin?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Alana, if you came across me in Copperface Jack's next weekend and I was wearing a pair of Aladdin trousers, you wouldn't look twice at me.
No, possibly not.
Can you imagine a man going to a nightclub wearing...
Those trousers you were wearing last summer are a bit like that.
No, but he looks like MC Hammer with those trousers on.
But he gets away with it.
Yeah, he does, because he's gorgeous and you're not, Jeremy. Thanks, Alana.
All right, thank you. Have a nice day.
Whereabouts in Spain are you?
In Jaén, Andalusia.
Oh, Andalusia. Apparently, according to our weather a moment ago, Ireland is going to be warmer than Ibiza for about 12 hours or something at the weekend.
It's not very specific,
nice,
by the way.
Enjoy the 12 hours.
Good luck.
It's not very specific. Andalusia is like... the whole
size of Ireland.
It's the whole south of Spain.
Where are we going next? Dave. Dave, who did you have a cartoon crush on?
Jesus, I had loads.
Oh.
Probably my top three, though, were probably like Jessica Rabbit, obviously.
Yeah.
No red-blooded male could ever look at Jessica Rabbit and not think, Jesus, hell yeah. Lola Bunny, and you remember the nurse from Animaniacs, no?
Sorry, Lola Bunny?
Yeah,
this is
Space Jam.
I thought you were talking about the Cadbury's Bunny.
No, she's the Looney Tunes.
No, I was going to say the Cadbury's Bunny back in the day. She was a funny bit of stuff as well.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at a photograph of the Cadbury's Bunny and she'd lovely eyelashes. She did. Look at her beautiful eyelashes, Jeremy. Look.
Oh, she has lovely and a lovely pink bow as well.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, very good.
Do you not kind of realise how suggestive 90s cartoons were?
Well,
especially compared to nowadays.
I'm looking at the Cadbury's Bunny was in like the Cadbury caramel ad, and she did it in such a
Cadbury's
caramel. She'd break off the piece of chocolate really seductively.
Yeah, and speak in a very Cadbury's caramel.
Now, lads, I hate to burst your bubble and ruin your childhood for you both, okay? But here's a little fact about the Cadbury's bunny. Yeah. And she was voiced by an actress called Miriam Margolyes, is her name. Right. Okay? And let's just say, if you Google image a photograph of the woman who did the voice for the Cadbury's bunny, yeah? Yeah. Well, she looks nothing like the Cadbury's bunny.
Oh! She doesn't look like a giant anthropomorphized rabbit. I never would have guessed that.
I've just Googled a photograph of Miriam Margolyes, who did the voice of the Cadbury seductive bunny.
How do you eat yours?
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah. Oh my God, right. Okay.
Here, lads, if you really wanted to relive your childhood, head down to Comic-Con when it's on. You might be lucky enough to see someone cosplaying as your favourite childhood female character.
I would say if Adrian arrived at Comic-Con and there was a woman arrived dressed as Daphne from Scooby-Doo.
Oh, I'd be gone.
That's it, gone.
Yeah, I'd elope with her. Thanks, Dave. Good luck. Where am I going now? Michelle, you're on 98FM. Michelle, how are you?
Hi, Adrian. How are you doing?
Michelle, what non-human character did you ever have a crush on?
Oh, God, I'm an 80s child as well, so it was Jace from a cartoon called Jace and the Wheeled Warriors that used to be on Sky One on a Saturday morning back in the day.
Hang on now, Jace out of Jace and the Wheeled Warriors. Hang on, I have to get a look at a photograph of him now.
I have to get a good picture of him on his own now.
Hang on, Jace and the Wheeled
brown
Warriors.
Hair and big muscles.
Oh, I see him. Oh, yeah. What's the story with the white stripe in his hair?
I can't remember.
He's a mad white stripe in his hair.
Yeah, I was subjected to all the boys' cartoons having an older brother, so I had to have some piece of entertainment. From
so if I come up to you in the bar, Michelle, and I have a white stripe going through my hair, will you give me your phone number?
You don't have enough hair to put a white stripe in.
I was going to say.
Yeah. Thank you, brilliant. Thank you, Michelle. Andre, how are you?
How you doing, Adrian?
Good, thank you. Well, who did you have a non-human crush on?
Right, before I say this, I'm probably not going to be able to sit on the same rank in town anymore.
Okay, you're a taxi driver?
Yeah, and the really nice customer, Gary, sitting in the back, is not going to see me in the same light.
Go on. Smurfette!
That little mini skirt and those little high heels, and Gary in the back is laughing good-o as well.
Good man, Gary. Okay, Smurfette.
Oh, yeah.
How are you, Gary? Smurfette was one of the Smurfs. She was the female Smurf. Obviously being a Smurf, she was blue.
I'm not racist.
No, absolutely not. And she had lovely, long, flowing blonde hair.
She did.
And she had a little white hat on.
And when you were 15 and your hormones were all, or 14, your hormones were all over the place. Believe you me.
And she had a mini skirt on, and she'd white high heels.
She did indeed. I remember it so well.
Yeah, Gary, I'd ask to get out at the next set of traffic lights if I were you.
I'm getting out now.
Good luck. Thanks. Smurfette is who he had a crush on. Like I said, we'll talk about anything. Have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message that just came in to us.
So my cartoon, well, they're not cartoon, but character fancies was Edward Scissorhands. I don't know, just maybe the leather, the knives. He's a bit dangerous, he's a bit of a bad boy, and an oddball. And then the other extreme was Casper, the friendly ghost.
Casper?
But I think because he turned into a real boy at the end and he was lovely and I fancied him. But Casper was cute as a little character as well. Thanks.
And Edward Scissorhands, which is a little bit bizarre. How do I pronounce this person's name? Tamisha.
Yeah.
Hi, Tamisha. How are you?
Hiya.
That's a lovely name.
Oh, thanks.
Where's that come from? Oh, sorry, I've lost you there, Tamisha. Are you there?
I'll go in the back.
Oh, yeah, go in the back. Go in the back. Where'd you get that name from?
Oh, it's made up.
Oh, it's a made-up name?
Yeah.
Oh, Tamisha. It's nice, anyway. Now, Tamisha, who did you have a childhood crush on?
Did you ever see The Prince of Egypt? When Moses lives like the kingdom and he has all this scraggy look.
Right.
And his hair is growing back, and he just looks real rough.
Oh, I'm looking at him now.
And he's real tan and all. Yeah, he's lovely there.
Oh yeah, I can see him.
Yeah.
Oh, I could see how you'd have a crush on him. The Prince of Egypt.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that. Thank you, Tamisha.
No problem.
Thank you. Bye. We had a lot of messages in. Do we have one more message that I haven't played? Oh, yeah, no, I've played all the messages. All right, very good. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, sorry, Bo Peep from Toy Story is a cutie. Always fancied her as a child, says that message. Thank you very much indeed for all of your messages. You're listening to 98FM's Dublin Talks.
98FM's Dublin Talks. Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98.
Now on to slightly more serious matters, and a topic that doesn't get highlighted an awful lot in the media, yet many of you listening at the moment have gone through this with a family member, usually a parent or a grandparent. We're talking about Alzheimer's and dementia, and how family cope when someone that they love has it and perhaps no longer remembers who you are, or even who they are. Here's some background on Alzheimer's, for example. It is the cause of 60 to 70% of cases of dementia. The most common early symptom is difficulty in remembering recent events. And as the disease advances, symptoms can include problems with language, disorientation, mood swings, loss of motivation, not managing self-care, and behavioural issues. And as a person's condition declines, they often withdraw from family and society. Gradually, bodily functions are lost and ultimately leading to death. Now, although the speed of progression can vary, the typical life expectancy following diagnosis is 3 to 9 years. And I'm joined on the line by the head of public affairs with the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, Tina Leonard. Tina, welcome to 98FM.
Well, thanks so much, and thank you for talking about this topic.
Yeah, it's something that we I've never actually spoken about before, and I'll tell you why we want to talk about it, and it's because of a message that we got, which I want to read to you and see what you make of this, okay?
Okay.
I have never contacted a radio show before, says Dee in Harold's Cross, but I need your help as I've nobody else to turn to. My grandmother, who practically raised me, has Alzheimer's disease. She had it for 3 years and it's getting worse. I'm struggling to deal with the fact that she barely recognises me or my family anymore. She's been in a home for the last year. I was up with her this morning and she keeps asking me who I am, which is heartbreaking. I also bring my daughter sometimes, her great-granddaughter, and she has no idea who she is. It's like we're strangers to her. 5 years ago, we were on holidays together and she was so sharp. Now she barely even knows who she is herself. She doesn't remember our visits. When I show her pics of us all together, there's no reaction. I'm having trouble coping with seeing my gran deteriorate in this way. All the family are, and I'm finding the visits particularly difficult. I won't stop visiting her, but I'm getting very down over seeing her like this. Do you know if there is any support for people like myself and my siblings? How do other people cope going through this? My brother stopped going to see her for 4 months ago and hasn't been since. He found it that difficult. He said he found it too upsetting. I'd love some advice, please, and that's from a lady called Dee in Harold's Cross. And Tina, that's a sad message. Yeah. And the first question I wanted to ask you, because it's something I don't know the answer to, is what is the difference between Alzheimer's and dementia?
Well, Alzheimer's is a type of dementia. So dementia is more of an umbrella term that we use to describe a range of diseases that cause cognitive impairment. And Alzheimer's is the most common, the most prevalent type of dementia. The next most common type of dementia is vascular dementia. Then there are others like Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal lobe dementia, lots of different types, but Alzheimer's is the most common type of dementia. And there are common symptoms, to all. Every individual is different, and some people have symptoms between the different types of dementia. They can vary, and even within, we'll say, Alzheimer's, some people can have different types of symptoms, but the most common ones are there to do with cognitive function, getting through your daily life, all the things that need to be done, short-term memory, following a sequence in a conversation, forgetting short-term events, having difficulty knowing what something is used for, and all of these, of course, can progress over time. There can be changes to taste, changes to mood, changes to personality. People can get down as well. There's so many elements to the various types of dementia. But for everybody, unfortunately, as I said, because there isn't a cure, and there aren't really effective treatments that can stop it in its tracks, then people, while supported, can live as well as they can for as long as they can. It's going to progress. And I think the case with Dee there that we've just heard from in Harold's Cross, her granny is at that stage where she's had Alzheimer's for a while now, and it has progressed to a point where she isn't recognising her, which is very sad.
It really is. I'm fortunate that I've never had an experience like it myself. My own grandmother is 97 and recognises me as soon as I arrive at the front door.
That's wonderful.
Which is wonderful. So what advice do you give to families to cope with basically losing somebody that they love with them still being here?
Yeah, it's difficult, but the first thing I would say is that you're not alone. Dee isn't alone, and nobody else listening is, because this is so prevalent in Ireland. There are 55,000 people with dementia now at various stages of the progression of the disease, but that's an awful lot of people. And of course, what we always say is, when somebody is diagnosed, it's a family diagnosis, because the family is so affected in the earlier stages, and people are being diagnosed now more sooner into the progression. Long ago, people weren't diagnosed at all, or maybe diagnosed when symptoms really got hold. But in earlier stages, it's social supports people need to enable people to stay involved, to get out, to keep doing the shopping, to go to the golf club even if they can't hit the ball. That sort of stay socially engaged is really, really important for health and for brain health. But later on, more and more supports are needed. So for the family, as things get harder, and Dee in this case, I think it sounds really, doesn't it, like Dee is struggling with the change that's in her grandmother, and because she doesn't recognise her granddaughter. And what I would say is that, yes, she doesn't recognise Dee, but I know that she will know that there's a nice person visiting her and spending time with her. So what we know, that even if somebody doesn't realise that somebody is their granddaughter in this case, or maybe it's a spouse or a sister or a friend, the sense of the person doesn't disappear in the later stages of the dementia. The person is still there, and a person can still feel a good situation or a bad situation, and can still enjoy a lovely company, and therefore the person is getting pleasure from that. So while it's very upsetting for Dee that she doesn't recognise her or her granddaughter, I hope that it's comfort to say that it could be a lovely, pleasant social experience for her grandmother, even if she can't verbalise that. I don't know what her speech is like or her cognition at the moment. So that continuing to visit and continuing to doing something nice is lovely. And Dee did mention there in the letter about pictures. I think she mentioned that there were no reactions. That's a pity, because often people do react to old photographs, especially because with dementia it's the short-term memory that begins to go, and that develops bit by bit until it's sometimes at a later stage the person is really looking back into the past, and in some cases think they are that younger person in the past, but if photos don't work, I wonder, would, for example, music work? What were her granny's likes and dislikes? Did she like a particular piece of music? Did she like looking at a particular film or a picture of something? What were her hobbies? And trying to introduce things like that sometimes can bring a spark of recognition from the person to the thing, and that can be gorgeous to see for the family member as well, because the person is still there. That's why there are lots of reminiscence programs, like there are ones about football and rugby, and people do things with music and with dance, because the person, depending on their likes and dislikes, can tap into something. And that might be an idea. But there are support. I think Dee needs her own support and people to talk to.
And that's obviously what she's asking for. She's reaching out for some support. Who do family members talk to? Because I imagine, and like I said, I haven't had first-hand experience of it, but I imagine it is, obviously it's a very difficult thing for the person who's been diagnosed with dementia to go through, but I would have thought that there comes a stage that they don't even realise what's happening to them. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So therefore, it must be more difficult for the family looking on.
Yeah, people do absolutely say that, because in the earlier stages of dementia, where the person is very aware, well, some people don't have great insight, but for people who do, most people always tell us that they know something's going wrong, they know something's not right in their body, because they can't find the word, or they're in work and they can't get it done. It's lots of younger people as well, by the way. It isn't an older people or a condition of older age or anything like that, but certainly as a disease progresses, and we often hear from family members at the later stage that it's the family member are worried about their spouse or their parent or their grandparent. But the person at that stage is very often living in the moment and could be in a happy place in that moment. And that's something to hold on to. And as I said, even if there is no recognition there, or maybe even no verbal ability, the feeling of a situation being nice is really good. I spoke to a woman recently, and she still has quite a lot of capacity, but she doesn't remember who people are. And she said that this is how she operates, and I thought it was so telling. She says if she's at something and someone comes up to her and she has no feeling at all, nothing, neither good nor bad, then she knows she's never met this person. And then if someone comes up to her and she gets a feeling that isn't so great, then she knows, I've met this person before and I didn't like them. And then if somebody comes up and she gets a nice feeling, she knows, I've met this person and I like them. And I think that's telling. Now she's at a stage, as I said, where with support she has a lot of capacity still to do things, but it gives an insight, doesn't it, into how even if one part of our brain can't tell us about things that are happening, the part of our brain that allows us to feel and remember with feeling is still there. And people sometimes often talk about this woman who often talks about her diagnosis, and she can't remember at all what was said, but she remembers how she felt. She remembers the pain she felt in hearing the diagnosis. So the memory of what you feel is still there, and that's why still being with someone, even if they can't talk or know who you are, is quite helpful. But definitely it's really important to say, and I think Dee has expressed this so well, that carers are really struggling. Whether they're caring for someone at home or a loved one is in a nursing home, it doesn't matter. Carers are really struggling, and we hear that a lot. And I can tell you that if you look at the cost of dementia care to the state, more than half of it is borne by family carers and not recognised. So for Dee, I will say that, she's in the Dublin area. There's always, because it's a built-up area, there's more supports and services. There are carer support groups. There's social clubs and cafes, and these are, even if she goes on her own, or maybe with her another family member, whatever she feels like, these are places where she can meet people who have a similar situation to her, or
okay. So who would you point her to specifically?
Yeah, well, to find out what's there, I would suggest that Dee does two things. If she could call our helpline, the Alzheimer Society of Ireland helpline, and they will tell her exactly what services are in her area and who she can contact and connect with. And that's 80. Can I give the helpline
Please
number
do, yeah.
out? It's 1800 341 341. Or she could go onto our website, which is alzheimer.ie, and click on Dublin and look at all the things available there. And the reason I think it's important, I know from other carers that talking to other people who are in the same situation can be really very helpful. And I would say that there aren't enough services and support either for people with dementia or for carers. Absolutely not. And that's important for people to know, that we did map all the dementia-specific services. We did that work last year with the HSE. We published it last year. And despite knowing that there isn't even a minimum standard of care in any county, which is really shocking and insulting to people with dementia and their families, but despite knowing that, the government haven't done anything to address that yet, and we need that to happen. But despite that being the case, there still are lots of people out there who know and who can support.
Okay,
and
so
we run services with the help of fundraising donations, I have to say as well, and thank you to everybody for that. So find out what those services are, and I hope Dee accesses some of them. You know, we have a dementia advisor as well, and we have a dementia advisor, a couple in Dublin. There's only 8 for the whole country, but Dee's lucky in Dublin, and she could access a dementia advisor and get advice that way as well about her, because care, you know, there can be a lot of stress in caring, and carers have to look out for their own health as well, very much so, because we know from all sorts of evidence that carers' health can go downhill.
Okay,
as well.
so the first course of action is perhaps to contact your own helpline on 1800 341 341 or go on to the Alzheimer Society of Ireland website. Tina Leonard, Head of Public Affairs with the Alzheimer Society of Ireland, thank you very much indeed for talking to us on 98 FM. And I'd like to hear from you on this, about the difficulties that family have in coping with dementia or with Alzheimer's. And I was watching a video series, I watched some extracts from a video series that's on YouTube called Molly's Movement, and it's about the relationship between a son and his mother. And there's one particular episode which he describes as the most difficult day of his entire life, where he spent hours with his mother trying to get her to recognise that he was or is her son, and it just wasn't getting through to her, and it was very, very sad to see. The video series is called Molly's Movement, and it's on YouTube, and it's well worth looking at. I'm going to take a quick break, and after the break I want to take a couple of calls on this, about the effect that it has on family watching your loved one essentially disappear on you. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice message.
Hey Adrian, just a quick message there for Dee if she's listening. I found myself in the exact same situation. I was raised by a gran, lived with her for 25 odd years. She developed dementia, and literally I seen her waste away. And although it is the most heartbreaking thing that you've ever had to kind of deal with or come across, you need to kind of you need to spend kind of as much time with her as you can. Because, you know, my gran now, she actually took a stroke. She's gone 10 years. But I think about her every day, and I just spend as much time as you can with her. Cheers.
All right, Rachel, I'm going to talk to you straight after the break. And you sadly lost your dad just a couple of months ago to dementia.
I did, yeah.
All right, stay there and I'll find out your story straight after the break.
98 FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie. 98 FM.
And this is Adrian Kennedy with you until midday today. We want to have a conversation after the message that we got from a lady called Dee about the effect on family of somebody close to them going through Alzheimer's or dementia. Now, Rachel, you sadly lost your dad a couple of months back.
I did. My dad had front lobe vascular dementia.
Which is what? Explain that to me.
It's the front of the brain is deteriorating. People are different when they're diagnosed with dementia. They act differently. In our case, we were lucky. My dad was never violent. He was actually very happy through all of his dementia, which unfortunately for him was only really less than 3 years. It would have only been 3 years at the end of this month. But he got to a stage where he had no interest in going out. He didn't have interest in talking to people. But he became in a place where he just didn't know how to speak to people or make conversation anymore, even to us as a family.
So in terms of recognising family, that wasn't an issue, was it?
No, thankfully we never reached that stage. We did, where he became a little bit mixed up with grandchildren, 1 or 2 grandchildren, but that was like only short, and he'd remember then he'd made a mistake with the name, but he remembered us right through. So that was my biggest fear, is the day that he wouldn't know who I was. But thank God, we didn't reach that stage with him.
What is it? I mean, we know a lot of us have experienced, for example, somebody deteriorating with cancer, and we can see a physical change in somebody over a period of time if they're going through aggressive treatment and so on. What is it like as a family member to see your dad deteriorate in that way?
It's absolutely heartbreaking, and even to talk about it's heartbreaking. To see such a strong man that worked all his life and was always there for his family, his children. He idolised his children, his grandchildren. He most of all idolised my mother. To become a person that didn't know how to mix with his own family anymore and depended on them for so much, that it just devastates you. It really does. Every day is new. There's always something different with him, and you just have to take each day as it came. I mean, it was a constant battle, trying to help, trying to get support for him and support for my mother. And it's a shame, really, that there's just not enough carers in the country to be able to look after them and help the families, because it's the families that need the help more. Unfortunately for my dad, he didn't know what was going on around him. So it was really my mother at the end of the day we were fighting for, you know. But my dad just got sick at the end, and we found out then, after 2.5 years, that he was fairly rapid. He was just more or less one day, he just changed, and we could notice the change in him, and he couldn't do a lot for himself. He didn't want to get out of bed. He just wanted to stay in bed all day. He didn't want people talking to him. If you sat with him, he didn't know how to speak to you, and his language was atrocious. But funny, because it was from a man that would never allow his children to speak bad language growing up. Everything was the F word with him. He was quite funny. But for people that didn't know him, would be taken back. You know, we tried to keep things normal for him and bring him out to a place that he liked to go and do as much as we could while we could. And then it just became a stage where you could see he was actually getting depressed in himself, even though he couldn't tell you knew.
So in terms of seeing him go downhill as somebody looking on was extremely difficult. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when they're not feeling well and they couldn't tell you they weren't feeling well. Or if they might tell you, like my dad had a sore arm at one stage, and he was just saying his arm was sore, but he didn't know where on his arm was sore, and he didn't know why his arm was sore, and he had an infection in it. And if we didn't get him to the doctor, he would just get worse. And you had to work out for yourself, am I doing the right thing? Does he need to go to the doctor? And does the doctor think we're being silly bringing them up? And, you know, is there anything really going on? Is it the way he slept? You just didn't know, but you just had to protect him. It sounds very difficult.
It's very, very hard, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
And one of the things that I was saying a while ago is that I imagine, and thank God I've never had the experience, I've never had to go through it. It must be, you know, they say it is more difficult for the family looking on than it even is for the person themselves.
Yeah, because you're always trying to keep yourself together and trying to be happy for them and be strong for them, and then behind all, you're just breaking down. You're just devastated.
Well, obviously, to lose your dad like that was very, very difficult for you and for all of the family. What was he like at the end?
Well, to be honest, we didn't know he was as sick as he was. We just noticed that he was more staying in bed and wasn't eating his food properly. He was sleeping a lot more. And when I say he was sleeping a lot more, if he was awake for 2 hours of the day, that was all. That we decided, you know, there's something more going on with him, and we decided to get him to hospital, and we did that, and that was it. He just didn't come home. He passed away 3 days later.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Rachel. James is on the line. James, your mum has dementia as I'm talking to you, and it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah, morning. How are you doing, Adrian?
Good, thanks, James.
Yeah, it's just this I was just saying to the research that I'm sure every caller you're probably talking to on this topic will be very, very similar sort of experience, you know. Like my mum is exactly the same now. She's at the stage now where, you know, she can't be in the house now around, like it's only herself and my dad at home, you know. And my dad's there, like she goes to a centre 4 days a week, you know, so I pick her up 3 days a week, you know, to help my dad out. But I had an experience there a couple of months ago. I've got my youngest fella over, and he's nearly 5 now at this stage, you know, but like she knows all our other kids, the grandkids, you know, she still kind of remember them. But I remember I picked her up that day, and she goes, you know, getting into the car, she goes, he's a lovely boy, what's his name, you know. So that literally, that was the first time when that really kind of broke my heart, you know, that she hadn't got a clue who he was, basically, you know. And I mean, it's like my mum used to be very, like chatty, you know. It's an understatement, basically. But now, like, I mean, she's very kind of reserved. She kind of goes back into herself, like, you know. And I mean, there's another thing, like growing up, like, you know, like even up to a couple of years ago, I mean, like, football was a big part of our family, you know. And my mum, like my mum probably knew more about football than most fellas would. Sorry, you rephrased that. My mum probably forgot more about football back in the day than most fellas would know. But even now, I mean, that's things like that she just, you know, if the odd time I go over and we're watching a match, right, she just, you know, it passes a boy, you know. So things like that, it's just, you know.
And what about, you were saying about the grandchild, what about you, and does she still know you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, you know. It's, but to be honest with you, there has been 1 or 2 times there, like, you know, when I pick her up from this place, she kind of calls me by my dad's name, you know. So, you know, but look, she still, like, you know, she still does it. Like, she still knows herself, my brother. No doubt about that. But you know, it just gets harder and harder. And that's the worst thing. I mean, it's just robbing a person of that, you know, of everything, basically.
And you're saying that as time goes on, it is getting more and more difficult.
Yeah. Like, I mean, it's at the stage now where, you know, as I said, when my dad does it, like, I mean, that's kind of like, you know, semi-retired now. He does a few hours, but it's just they really to give him a break as well, you know. They open the centre, but basically she really can't be on her own anymore, you know. So.
And are you prepared for it getting worse in terms of perhaps her eventually not even recognising you?
Well, that's the sad reality, you know. You kind of know that is, you know, it is a matter of time, you know. It's only a matter of time before, you know, as the months go on, you know. That is the sad reality for every family, you know, who's dealing with this issue, basically. So, I mean, it's the one thing. I mean, you just wouldn't, you know, you wouldn't wish on anybody. You really wouldn't wish on anybody, because it's, you know, it is.
Because I had a very peculiar experience a number of years ago where I was in a particular nursing home, and an old neighbour of ours was in there. And I went over and I said hello to her, and she recognised me straight away, and she hadn't seen me for about 25 years, and yet she still didn't know her own family, which I just found... Yeah.
It's crazy, alright, because I mean, you know, like, as that lady from the association you were talking, you know, in terms of the short-term memory, I mean, like, my mum, like, I could have a, you know, like, when I start talking, she'll talk back, you know, I'll have a little bit of a chat, but I mean, you know, like, come the following day, you know, no recollection,
yeah,
no whatsoever, like, I mean, so. But,
and like I said, that's why we decided to have this conversation today, because I'm aware that the effect that it has on the family can be even more difficult than even the effect that it's having on the person themselves, because it gets to a stage that they're, for want of a better expression, blissfully unaware.
But that's, like, to be honest with you, Adrian, like, I think this is going to become more and more prevalent. Because
it is becoming more and more prevalent.
You know, there's an older, like, the older generation now, I mean, a lot of people are living longer, like, I mean, so that is the sad reality.
And the figure we got earlier on, 55,000 people living with dementia now. That figure is going to jump into the 100,000s in the next 20 years. And for every one of those 55,000 people, there's a whole family around that particular person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you know, like I was saying, everyone has their own. It's like, you know, every family, so they all do their own. They go their own way about trying to help out. But man, like all you can do is just destroy yourself and you know, dig in. You know, as tough as it is, basically, because, I mean, at the end of the day, the person who's suffering from this, you know, they probably think they're okay, you know. Like, a lot of people think they're okay, well, you know, obviously when everything else around them, it's the people who are suffering. So
absolutely.
All they can do is help out. That's the simple thing I'm going to say to any family, as tough as it is, just rally around each other, and, you know.
All right, James, I appreciate you opening up to us, and thanks very much indeed for your call. Mary, I will take your call straight after the break. Mary has been going through this for 15 years with her grandmother, and I'll also take a call from Margaret as well straight after the break.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie. 98FM.
We're in the middle of a conversation about dementia and the effect and the difficulty for families looking on, essentially, because they say that it is very, very difficult. And if you do get a chance over the next couple of days, a great series on YouTube is called Molly's Movement, and it's about the relationship between a son and his mother who's got dementia. There's one particular episode where he's trying to get through to her about the fact that he is her son, and she gets it for like 2 minutes and then forgets it again, and he found it the most difficult day of his entire life. And he's sitting there in front of his own mother crying, and she's asking why you're crying, and she feels really sorry for him, and she reaches out to him, and he just can't get through to her that he is actually her son. It's very, very sad, actually. It's called Molly's Movement, and it's on YouTube. Mary is in Shankill. Mary, you're on 98FM. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Now, you've been going through this with your granny.
Yeah, we're trying to think, it's 16 and 17 years she has it, actually. She was just turned 8 or 9 there on Saturday, but it's not easy. Like, she doesn't know who we are. Now, she does. She's got 5 children. She recognises 2 of them. Or her grandchildren. We go through all the time. She doesn't recognise us at all, like. And we went through the stage of explaining who we were, you know, all the time, but we were getting more upset about it. So in the end, we just learned from ourselves, literally, that you bring up old photographs and, you know, of her and her children when she was younger, us when we were younger, and just let her talk.
And does she recognise you?
No.
And would you have had a good relationship with her before that?
Yeah, now I'm one of 4. I have 3 sisters, and the 4 of us would have been really, really close with her, like up until she got diagnosed, and she doesn't remember any of us, none at all, like. And we'd bring up old pictures of us when we were younger, and she'd recognise us. But like there on Saturday, we were up with her for her birthday, and she hadn't a notion who we were. Now my dad was with us, and she knew, and she kept saying, "Who are the girls with you?" Like, but she hasn't a notion who we were.
What's that like?
It's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And as the other caller said, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, like, but she's still here, like, that's what the way, like, we nearly lost her there in February. She's put on palliative care, and we were told, you know, this is it, but, like, she's still here, and we just, when we see her, we just enjoy the time with her, like, it doesn't really matter. Like, we know who she is, she might know who we are, but obviously she's gonna go before us, and we just gotta take the memories with us, like, and we're with her, we enjoy it there and then. Like, there's no point in trying to explain. And like, I found myself getting more upset when I was explaining to her, "No, I'm Mary, I'm your granddaughter, I'm named after you, like, you should know me." Like, I found myself personally getting more upset because she hadn't a clue.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier on that I'm very fortunate that I've a grandmother who's still with us. She's 97. I'm her eldest grandson. She recognised all of us straight away. You know, she just opens the door. "Ah, Adrian," which is wonderful. So she still has it. And I can't imagine what it would be like to arrive at her door and not know who I was.
Yeah, like, our nanny is in a nursing home. We go up now. Nursing home is lovely, and they can't do enough for her, but we walk in, and as other callers have said, her language is colourful. She does have her violent days. So we could go up one day, she'd be happy as Larry, she'd yap away to you, and other days you could get a cup across the head if she's having a cup of tea, or you could get a plate. They have to keep things away from her because you just don't know what universe she's in, and it is heartbreaking. Like, I come out of there some days saying I can't act this anymore. I can't go and see her. Like,
in fact, the message that we started this conversation off with from Dee, she talks about her own brother not being able to visit her anymore because he just finds it just too difficult.
It is, and like, I find it difficult, and most times I'm walking out there, and most times I'm with my sister, or I have a son as well who comes, and I'm like, no, I'm not going, I can't go again. Like, it's too upsetting. But like, we don't know how long left we've got with her, like, because at the moment, as I was saying there, we nearly lost her in February. She's put on palliative care and stuff, and we just got to take it day by day at the minute because we don't know how long she's got left, and what's the point in going up and getting upset and stressing her out, and you're saying to her, oh, I'm your granddaughter, and she doesn't remember you, she's getting stressed out.
Yes, of course, yeah. So the only way to cope is just be happy that she's still with you.
Be happy. That's the way, because she has a son in Australia. Actually, he came home in February, and she did recognise him, but she kept calling him by her other son's name, and then eventually they're all in the room together, and she copped it. But she's a son in Manchester who she doesn't recognise. She's a daughter in Manchester she didn't recognise. So just take it day by day. That's what I say to the person looking for advice, is take it day by day. Don't be stressed out. Don't be getting yourself upset. Like, obviously it is upset, but the more you try and explain to that person who you are, you're going to get stressed out. They're going to get stressed out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Bring up old pictures. Like, my nanny's from Villarstown in Waterford originally. We took a trip down during the summer, and we took pictures of her old house and places where she would have visited, and we have a photo book in her room, and we take it out when we go up with her, and she goes through it, and she'll tell you they're her grandkids. She'll name us all off when we were younger, and she'll say, oh, that's my old house. And it's just the best way to do it, is keep them happy. Don't stress them out, and don't stress yourself out.
All right, good to talk to you, Mary. Thanks very much indeed. And let me just bring in one last call, and that's Margaret. You're on 98 FM, Margaret. How are you?
How are you, Adrian?
Now, your dad has dementia, and you describe it as absolutely horrible.
It is. It's absolutely horrible. He was diagnosed with dementia 4 years ago, but he was diagnosed with the worst dementia you can get, the most vascular dementia you can get, and he was given for the longest you can live with that is 5 years. For the first couple of years, he was just rambling about. You couldn't leave him on his own. He was walking in and out of the house, Adrian. He didn't know who we were there, but then he went to the hospital a while ago, and the hospital recommended that we put him into a nursing home because he was 19 stone and he'd start falling out of bed on me, and I'm on my own, like, because my children work, do you know what I mean? And so I put him into, I always said I wouldn't put him into a nursing home. I put him into a nursing home, and he's just in his own little world, Adrian, to be honest with you. Like, he doesn't know my mother passed away 5 years ago. I put pictures of her in front of him, and it breaks my heart that he actually doesn't know her. Like, he physically say, no, I wasn't married to her for 50 years, you know what I mean? Like, he's not, when I'd walk in, he'd see me, and he'd have a big smile on his face, but he wouldn't be able to tell you who I was. And the last
but your presence meant something.
Oh yeah, but you see, I could say that, but then if you walked in, Adrian, into the coffee shop or something, he'd give you a big smile. Do you know what I mean? He smiles kind of at everyone. They call him Smiley down the hospital.
In fact, I had another very peculiar experience recently where I was introduced to a woman who I subsequently found out had dementia, and I was introduced to her as the man that she listens to on the radio every day, and she knew who I was straight away. And yet, her daughter was standing beside her, and she didn't know who her daughter was. Yet she knew this stranger, which I found really peculiar.
Yeah, at times, Adrian, I'd be saying to myself, like, we got her off, probably. I don't like him in the nursing home. I'd love to have him at home, but I know it's physically not possible for me to have him at home. That he's getting the care down in the nursing home that I couldn't possibly do from him. Now, I go down at 1:30 every day when I stay there till 5:30. But now, like, it's upset me now the last, we say, 2 to 3 weeks more. I'm only home from the doctor actually there about an hour ago, because it's getting me down because he can't talk anymore. His speech is gone. He can say yeah and he can say no.
And that's it.
But that's it. Yeah. he can't walk. He's not mobile anymore. He's just on. He can take 3 or 4 steps on a Zimmer frame. That's it. Like, you know, he's wearing pads. It's not a nice way to see our dad.
No.
Like, for a man that was so independent, it's not nice to see any of them in there, to be honest with you. Like, you know, like, just with the dementia.
All right, Margaret, I appreciate you sharing your experiences with us and everybody who's been on to us. It's something we've never really touched on before. And if you've been affected or are being affected by any of the issues that we've been talking about, the helpline number for the Alzheimer Society of Ireland is 1800 341 341. That's 1800 341 341. Thanks very much indeed for listening today. We're back with you again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Now, Barry Dunn is on the way. He's live from Dundrum Town Centre, and in the next hour he's got some great music lined up like these.
Sometimes I get a good feeling when the man wanna get buck wild. Just go back and hit 'em up style.
98FM's
Dublin Talks
with Des Kelly Interiors, the wood floor experts who supply and fit your new wood floor from start to finish, hassle-free. DesKelly.ie 98FM.